Thank you, Glenn. Nice. Our next writer is Mr. Mike O'Mary. He's the author of 2 books, Wise Men and Other Stories and The Note. He is also founder of Dream of Things, an independent book publisher focused on memoirs and anthologies of creative nonfiction. Mike is going to read from Wise Men and Other Stories, which is currently a New York Times bestseller at number 23 among nonfiction ebooks in a recent edition of the New York Times Book Review. It's a perfect gift for just about anybody on your list, and it's just really close to the holidays, so I just thought I'd throw that out there. Mike O'Mary, please come on up.
Thanks, Kevin. A bit of shameless self-promotion. I'm going to read from the book that Kevin mentioned. I brought copies of it with me, just coincidentally. It came out this year with a new cover, so I've got this bright cheery new cover that I've got a few copies with me. They're $10. I also happen to have a whole bunch of copies with the old cover, which a pessimist might regard as obsolete inventory. I regard them as collector's items. These collector's item editions are 3 for $10. So, like Kevin said, great stocking stuffers. All right. How many of you play Scrabble? Yeah? All right. So that book is, it has some serious essays, it has some humorous essays. I'm going to read you a funny one. I think it's funny. I hope you do. All right. This is called the Scrabble Tournament. One holiday season, my co-workers and I played in a charity Scrabble tournament at the Chicago Athletic Club on Michigan Avenue. Before the night was over, I would test my mettle in a match against the reigning national Scrabble champion, but I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm not exactly sure how I got into this thing. I like Scrabble, but I had other more pressing matters in my life at that time, like a failing marriage and a disappointing career. I was going nowhere, and I should have been focused on making some changes. Instead, I was going to play Scrabble. The Chicago Athletic Club is everything you would expect of an exclusive downtown men's athletic club. It's decorated like the interior of a British country manor, with timbered ceilings, oriental rugs, open hearth fireplaces, and colors of deep maroon and dark green reminiscent of a jungle somewhere in the far reaches of the British Empire. I ordered a beefeater and tonic and mingled. I was chatting up the team from the Tribune Company when the national Scrabble champion arrived. He was an unimposing fellow, early 30s, about 5'8", neatly trimmed black hair that went a little too far down the back of his neck, but he was quickly surrounded by women. Yes, it was mostly low heels, and I'm almost positive there were corrective lenses, but there was no mistaking the pheromones in the air. The Scrabble champ was in the house, and it was every articulate woman for herself. After that, the tournament started. We were playing in teams of 3, and my teammates and I had an easy time of it against our first opponents, a trio of young copywriters from the Leo Burnett Agency. But our next opponents were the editors of the Tribune Company, and I was worried. They turned out to be tough competition. Midway through the game, they put down Wrinkle and picked up 50 bonus points for using all their letters. They high-fived each other and then sat back to watch us squirm. We were down by 45 points and looking at this rack, AEORRSV. There's got to be something we can do with this, I said. I started moving the tiles around. Veros, Veroser, Rivaros. Eventually, I came to Resavor and Savorer. Are those real words? Asked one of my teammates. I think so, I said. We debated which one to play and decided on Savorer. The Tribune editors examined the words. The word, Savorer, said one of them, one who savors. Nice play. We got points for Savorer, points for Wrinkles, plus 50 points for using all our letters. We never looked back after that, and soon we were moving on to the next round. There was a break first, and I was standing next to one of the big open hearth fireplaces, recounting the Savorer-Resavor dilemma and our ultimate victory to anyone who would listen, when I heard this announcement. The National Scrabble champion has agreed to an exhibition to raise additional funds for our charity, said the announcer. The champion will take on any and all comers in a mini game of Scrabble for a donation of $20. I'll play him, I said. One of the organizers put my name at the top of the list. The champ was standing off to the side of the registration table. In his hand was a cola of some sort. On his face was a smug smile. and by his side were half a dozen of the best spelling women in Illinois. I suddenly felt very overmatched. "Where do I go now?" I asked the organizer. "Let me sign up the others and we'll get started," she said. I looked behind me. There were a dozen other people waiting to sign up. "Looks like you have time to re-savor the moment," said the champ. His entourage buzzed with laughter. I searched my brain for a witty reply. "Yeah," I said. And then I retreated to the men's room to gather my wits. Walking into the men's room at the Chicago Athletic Club is like walking back in time. You can pull a comb out of a jar of blue disinfectant and comb your hair. You can refresh yourself with a splash of Pinaud Clubman aftershave lotion or Clubman Citrus Musk Eau de Cologne. And best of all, you can pee into a urinal full of crushed ice. There's something about melting some ice that restores a man's confidence. I finished up, splashed on some cologne, and walked back out into the faux English country manor just in time for my match. One of the organizers introduced me to the champ. "Thank you for supporting this event," he said. "Let's play," I said. The champ and I took our places opposite each other across a small square table. Someone explained the rules. The champ and I would each get the same 7 letters. We would have 60 seconds to come up with our best word. The crowd gathered tight around our little table. Some of them pressed in a little too close. Someone smells good," said a female voice behind me. I looked over my shoulder. It was an attractive black woman. "Clubman Citrus Musk," I said. She smiled at me. Her date, a very suave-looking Billy D. Williams type, smiled too and gave me a thumbs up. "Could we have a little breathing room?" said the champ. His tone conveyed that this was more than a request. Volunteers stepped in to push back the crowd. We were ready to begin. An organizer placed 7 tiles down in front of the champ and me. I looked at the champ. He looked as cool and calm as ever. Imagine James Bond at a Monte Carlo baccarat table, sipping a very dry martini. Except he has a little too much bristly hair going down the back of his neck, and his martini is a Mr. Pibb. "Are you ready?" asked the organizer. "Ready," said the champ. "Ready," said I. "Begin." The champ and I placed our tiles on our racks and studied them. Neither of us moved any tiles around at first, and it occurred to me that perhaps the champ didn't need to rearrange his tiles. Perhaps he could just see things in his head. Maybe that's why he was the champ. Or maybe he was just messing with me in my head. Maybe he was trying to intimidate me by not touching his tiles, which would make me feel self-conscious about touching my tiles, which would put me at a disadvantage since normally I like to move my tiles around. 50 seconds, said the organizer. Damn, I thought, I just wasted 10 seconds trying to outthink the champ. He was good, no doubt about it. Without even trying, he had gotten into my head and thrown me off my game. But I wasn't going to let myself get caught up in his head games. I decided right then and there that I was going to play my way. 40 seconds, said the organizer. I started rearranging my tiles. The champ and I were each dealt the following letters: E-F-I-O-M-T. Yes, I know it's only 6 letters. There was a 7th, but I can't remember what it was, and it doesn't matter. Neither the champ nor I were able to use that 7th letter, so I can pretty much guarantee it was unusable. The champ and I each played our hand using those 6 letters, E-F-I-O-M-T. I was rearranging my letters and coming up with different options: fit, met, oft, but nothing good. Meanwhile, the champ still hadn't lifted a finger. He just sat there studying his tiles, still trying to get into my head. But I was playing my own game, staying within myself. I kept rearranging my tiles: tone, time, emit, might. 30 seconds. Finally, the champ started rearranging his tiles. And oddly enough, the fact that he was following my lead bolstered my confidence. But that little boost of confidence was accompanied by a shot of adrenaline, which in turn made it more difficult to concentrate, and suddenly I couldn't think straight. I was losing it. I continued to rearrange my letters, but it was all nonsense. Mifo, Fimo, Timo, Tifi, nothing. 20 seconds. I realized this was probably just as the champ had planned. He was playing it cool, and I had played right into his hands. But I refused to give up. Focus, I said to myself. Concentrate. That's when I heard the little voice in my head. See the word. It started as a whisper, but it kept repeating, and it grew louder and more drawn out with each repeat. See the word. It kept running through my head over and over again, and then I realized the voice wasn't coming from inside my head. It was coming from somewhere behind me. I turned around and watched as Billy D. Williams did a stage whisper. See the word. It was meant to be supportive, and I realized then that he and most of the rest of the crowd were pulling for me to knock off this Scrabble gunslinger of a champion who who had blown into town intent on showing off his erudite ways and wooing all our intelligent women, only to blow out of town the next day, leaving in his wake a trail of scattered Scrabble tiles, disillusioned lady literati, and humiliated but fragrant men. So I should have been flattered, but instead I found the whispering very distracting. 10 seconds, said the organizer. Say the word, said Billy D. Everything all right over there, said the champ. Could we have quiet, please, I yelled. The room fell dead silent. My powers of concentration came back in a rush, and I could see not only the word, but the theme of my entire life, the structure, the design, the grand pattern. It was all perfectly clear. Time, said the organizer. After you, said the champ. I smiled, calmly selected my tiles one by one and laid down my word, motif. The crowd applauded. Nicely done, said the champ. Thank you, I said. Now for your word, said the organizer. The champ didn't bother putting down his tiles one by one. He picked them up all in one hand and laid them before us in an omnipotent motion, as if to say, in the beginning was the word, and the word was fomite. Fomite? What the hell is fomite, I said. There was a gasp from the audience at my crude inquiry. The organizers and volunteers moved in lest I pull a blade. It's an inanimate object that serves to transmit infectious organisms, said the champ. It's in the dictionary, said somebody with an electronic Scrabble dictionary. The remainder of that evening is kind of fuzzy in my memory. We lost our third round game by a wide margin, and I recall that my coworkers observed a somber and respectful silence on the drive home later that night. But the thing that sticks with me most was my walk through the crowd after my loss to the champ. The young copywriters from Leo Burnett shook my hand and said, better than we could have done. The editors of the Tribune Company were genuinely bummed. We thought you had him, they said. And one of my coworkers put an arm around me and asked, are you all right? I'm fine, I said. I just need a minute. So they all went off and left me alone with my thoughts by a fireplace. I wasn't alone for long, though. I soon sensed a presence behind me. I turned around and saw Billy D. Williams and his girlfriend. Fomite, said Billy D. Yeah, fomite, I said. Billy D. shook his head. That's rough, he said. Yeah, said his girlfriend. What are you going to do now, said Billy D. I guess I'll just keep playing, I said. That's right, man, just keep playing. You too, I said. See the word. Billy D. gave me a fist bump and then turned to his girlfriend. Come on, baby, we got a game to play. They turned to walk away, but his girlfriend looked back over her shoulder and smiled at me. Bye, honey, she said. Then she turned to Billy D. Williams and whispered, you should get some of that Clubman stuff. Billy D. turned to his girlfriend. How many letters in Clubman, baby? 7, she said. That's right, baby, 7 letters. Billy D. smiled at her, and she smiled back. And as they walked away, I saw the grand pattern of my life clearly again and knew that it was time to make some changes and get on with my life. Thanks.
Thank you, Mike.